Hey everyone, and welcome to World Conservation Summits. My name is Tanya Anderson, and I am your host today together with an amazing person, and her name is Dawn Patrick. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me today.
You are most welcome. And who is Dawn? Dawn is one of the, I would say, like one of the ambassador of Naankuse. Can I call you that?
Yeah, you sure can.
Okay, amazing. Because she have been like 8 times down there to the organization, as she also going in January down there again. So before Dawn is sharing about who she is, I will share a piece of who is the organization, as she is ambassador for a amazing organization that doing an amazing job down in Africa. So I will read a little bit up for you guys. So the Naankuse Foundation is committed to conserve Namibia's wildlife and landscape and the unique culture and really practice that of the sand. I don't know, what is the sand exactly? Do you know that, Dawn?
Yeah, Sand Bushman.
Sand Bushman. Okay, I was like, that's not S-A-N. I was like, what is that exactly? So overall, the purpose of the foundations is to help or conserve the landscape of Namibia, to protect the wildlife, and to improve the lives of the people. It works with through sustainability, innovations, and communicable activity. I was like, what that word? Communicable activist. So Dawn, tell us a little bit about who you are as a person before you're sharing about why you pick Naankuse Foundation as to be a volunteer at.
Yeah, no, again, thanks for having me again today, Tanya.
Cool.
For me, I've always grown up, I can never remember when I didn't have a love for animals. And when I finally was able to do my very first trip to Africa, I guess in about, going back there now, 1998.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the first time I did an overlander trip to Kenya and Uganda. And I just fell in love with the place. So here we are today, and 36 trips later over to that continent. It's my second home. I really feel almost sometimes more at home there than I do here in Vancouver. And I've been lucky enough. My sister owns a travel agency, so I've been able to escort safaris and trips over there to Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Namibia. And I've also done in those times, I've volunteered at four projects. And
4 different kind of projects as volunteer.
pardon me?
4 different kind of projects as volunteer.
Yes, 4 different
Wow.
projects as volunteer. One was in South Africa. One was in, actually 2 were in South Africa. One that I went to 3 times. And one was in Botswana. And then since I started going to Namibia in 2017, that's just where it's been my second home. And I just keep going back there. Even made it over there the 2 times over COVID. That was my challenge. So
Oh, wow. Or you was traveling in the COVID when the COVID was hitting?
I did. I have had to serve all my quarantine when I came back to Canada, used all my vacation. But that was my priority, was to get over there and help them out. So,
Oh, wow. So the first time you find Naankuse, why did you exactly pick them? Because the topic we will talk about, Dawn and I, we will share about what is important to know about volunteer, like when it's the first time to travel out, how do we find a good organization, and what to look for, what to ask questions for, what really the key element you get to look into. So Dawn, why did you pick Naankuse Foundation as volunteer?
yeah, it was actually funny. In Canada here, we would get a program, and it was called Wild Animal Orphans. And they did quite a few shows on Naankuse. And I watched it. And this had been after I'd actually volunteered at other projects. And I was like, wow, like that really looks good. It looks like these people really are doing a lot of good where they are. But again, you never know with television. It can be smoke and mirrors. You just never know. So when in 2016, in September of 2016, I organized a trip to Namibia with 3 coworkers. And I was like, okay, this is a great way to check them out, to see what they're like. So I arranged for my group to do the behind the scenes tour with Marliese. And so we went there, had breakfast at the lodge in the morning, did our tour with some of the staff, then met up with Marliese and we went around, and I was like, wow, this lady's the real deal. Like, and when we were done our tour, her and I had a talk, and we had, you know, and I was very upfront with her that I said, you know, I came here as a way to check you guys out because I said I had good volunteer experiences and bad. And I told her that I'd seen them on the TV, and I said, I really wanted to come here, but I thought this was a good way to sort of see what you guys are really about. And I admired her because she said, I wish more people would do that. You know, every question I asked her that day was answered. So I just got a really good feeling of where I wanted to go on my next visit and spend my hard-earned dollars. So in the February of 2017, I went there for 3 weeks, and I've continued to go back there every year. So it's like seeing not just the animals now, it's like going back and seeing my extended family and friends.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Have you done work in each areas? The work with like the school, the vet care, like the sanctuary, as the police?
Yeah, on my first year when I went down and I spent a week at Kanan, which is the area down in the desert. Very, very beautiful landscape. Stunning area down there. Most of the project down there is on research. I haven't been down there in any of my other visits since, but it's still very research-based, kept checking camera traps, doing things like that. It's a great experience. It can get very, very hot down there depending on the time of the year. So you'll go out in the morning and you'll do certain activities, and then you come back and you have a rest in the afternoon, and then you go late afternoon.
Nice.
And I've also been up to Tembila, beautiful, the exact opposite of Kanan. Very green, lots of trees, very opposite of the desert. Love it up there. Again, very research-based. They've really benefited from having that property now because they have been able to release some of the animals that they have at the sanctuary, or that they have rescued from other parts of Namibia that were never intended to be kept in captivity. So they call it the place of second chances. So there's been lions released up there, elephants, wild dogs. So it's and they've also incorporated different levels of tourism up there where the public can go, which also benefits them financially. There's a beautiful, stunning lodge up there, but then they also have like self-catered camping units. So everything in between what people can do. All those properties also have anti-poaching units. Tembila has an anti-poaching unit. I have not spent any time out at the Lifeline Clinic. I'm more of a furry baby person than human kids, but I have, been exposed to a lot of the kids at the sanctuary that are there, and Linnea, the principal, she's doing a great job, and the teacher, Shirley, the kids are very, very fortunate there to be getting a great education, and a lot of effort is put in to helping them there, progress to the next stage of their life.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Dawn, did you share about what your background is?
Actually, my background is I actually took physical education at college, fell into doing landscaping and horticulture for a friend of mine over on Vancouver Island. And then that extended into doing my apprenticeship in horticulture. And so for the last 28 years, I've worked for a city that's about a half-hour drive out of Vancouver called City of Coquitlam. So I've worked for their parks department for about 28 years. And then I use my vacation time from work. I split it up to usually do a few weeks where I can go for 3 weeks to a month to Naankuse to do my volunteer work. And then I use my other section of my vacation to escort the trips that my sister and I put together over to Africa.
Amazing, amazing. So around this topic, we get to talk about is Naankuse Wildlife Foundation Volunteer so I know you have been experienced one bad organization as volunteer, and a lot of volunteer is spending a lot of money in some places. There is like maybe you get to choose another place. Can you share a little bit around that, like what people get to be aware about to like to traveling as a volunteer in different part of the world?
Yeah, I'm volunteerism now. It's a huge business. You
Oh yeah.
know, companies, most, especially legitimate volunteer programs such as Naankuse, they don't get any government funding whatsoever. None. So
Yeah, because this is a non-government
non-government.
organization.
Exactly, they're an NGO.
Yeah.
So they have to really rely on fundraising efforts, volunteer programs to bring money in to support their programs. And you know, one thing that was said to me in my induction years ago at Naankuse, and it has stuck with me, is conservation doesn't make money, it costs money.
True.
You know, you're not in it to make money, it's always costing money. So you need a constant flow of income.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are projects out there, in my own personal opinion, that have abused that.
Yeah,
In the
100%.
sense that they have just looked at, you know what, I'm going to call myself a volunteer program. I'm going to say I'm conserving nature, wildlife. And this also goes even for programs with orphanages, with kids, you know, not, it expands into things. And the programs aren't always doing what they say they're doing on paper to draw people in.
True.
You know, I won't say the name of the organization, but I had great volunteer opportunities in South Africa when I volunteered with vervet monkeys in one area up by Kruger Park in Zanin. Yeah. Fabulous place. Went there 3 years, loved it. Great place. Botswana, great. I was very fortunate. Botswana is a very difficult place to do volunteer work, but I was very lucky enough in 2006 to be able to go down and work with a conservation group there that dealt with cheetahs. Then I went to another program in South Africa, and it was promoted as a, quote, lion release program. Oh. Well, there were no lions being released at this program. Nope. I mean, they were breeding captive bred lions just to bring people into the organization. Yeah. So people could pay to have their photos taken with them and all of that. And I was just like, whoa, like the bells and whistles went off. And so I did stay there for my duration, but I documented everything I saw when I stayed there. And when I came home, I got in contact with the company in the States that I had booked through. And I submitted all my information to them that this program was not how it was being advertised. And I was very fortunate. I got all my money back. So
you get your only money back?
I got all my money back that I paid to go to that program. Yeah. So, you know, we as volunteers, we do have a voice. You know, you can speak up. And that was, I mean, quite a while ago now when I did that. But I do believe this particular place is still operating as and is still in business. Hence why when I wanted to go to Naankuse, following back to what I said about doing the behind the scenes with Marlies, and then speaking to her, and I was very upfront with her about the program I'd been to. She was just as disgusted as I was, and so we just, from that day, we just sort of hit it off. You know, our morals and principles around animals really were like right aligned. So ever since then, you know, it's been a great relationship that I've had with them. Yeah. And the other, actually, when Tanya, when you're also talking about projects that they also have, and they offer it 2 times a year. They offer a captive care and rehabilitation experience that you pay a little bit more money, but they only take 10 people a year. Naankuse, and you get to spend time with the veterinarians, and you get a little bit more in depth of behind the scenes of what goes on at the sanctuary. Yeah. And anybody can do that. There's no experience required, nothing like that. And they also offer, I think 2 times a year for sure, veterinary experience that is for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that time is primarily utilized for vet technicians, people going to veterinary school, current practicing vets, and they're immersed very much with Micah at Naankuse, Lindsay at Harness, and those programs are getting into doing workups on any of the captive animals they have, more in-depth things like that. And
they are working in many places. So to you that is watching this interview, we will invite you to go to the homepage and really look up on the informations. And the homepage is naankuse.com.
Correct.
It is not org, no, it is com. Perfect. So let's go a little bit back, Dawn, around you talk about your experience as a volunteer, like this bad place around the lions. So how can a person at home, whatever they are, do the homework, like really done the research before they're really choosing an organization to be a volunteer at?
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to lie. It's difficult. It's really hard. It's very, very hard. When I first started going, Facebook wasn't as prevalent as it is now. There are some Facebook groups that talk about, volunteering experiences in different parts of Africa, and people leave their comments there. It's read the information. The internet is huge now. Good and bad.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
You have to, even when you're looking at comments that people have passed about programs, you have to filter those out a bit and go, okay, like where's the meat of where's the truth? Some people, when they go, if they don't have all the creature comforts of home, then they think the program's horrible. I mean, you have to remember where you're going in these places. You could have water that doesn't work for 1 or 2 days because everything's solar powered and it's been cloudy. And you can have some people then that complain about that on a Facebook page. I mean, you have to understand where you're going and how these things can happen. Those aren't fair comments to put on. But I kind of say sometimes if some things seem a little too good to be true, ask questions. Ask questions.
Before you're sharing about that, Dawn, around the homework and the resource you out there, audience, like one, don't have been out a volunteer 8 times in total, correct? Or you have been more?
8 times at Naankuse. And 3 times at a vervet monkey project in Zanin in South Africa. So I've volunteered in total probably 13 times. Nice. And 8 of those have been Naankuse.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So around the resource and homework to you, the audience that is watching, is one of the things I have learned is really like, as Dawn is also sharing, like connect with the volunteer, like connect with the organizations and get connected with them. They can also be like, look at the webpage, look at the social media, connect with some people that have been down there before. If you have a network that work with wildlife or the nature or conservation, connect with that organization. The first time I was traveling out to Borneo Sunbear Conservation Center in 2013, I had a lot of connections, and I connect with someone that is working with them to ask them questions, a person I have trust with, and he said it makes no sense, and it was. So really, do you network with people also? Look at social media, Google on social media, like Google on Google, and connect with the organization is amazing. Places to go to, and really write down your the cons and like the plus and the minus, and see what is there for you when you're down. So don't like around the question you're sharing about, like what is some good questions to ask yourself about before you pick the place?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, email your questions to an organization.
Yeah.
If they're not replying to you, pay attention to that. If their answers are very vague to what you're asking, start thinking that some bells and whistles are going on, that they're not being. Because you know what? The reality is, and Tanya, you and I have talked about this before, and I'll even say this with Naankuse, no project is perfect.
No.
There's
No human is perfect. Like we all make mistakes.
Perfect. No organization is perfect. There's hiccups, there's things that go wrong everywhere. That is just a fact of life.
Yeah.
But I say, ask your questions if you have questions. If you're not getting replies or you're not getting answers to your questions, take that as a signal. You know, if you're getting very forward, answers to your questions, prompt replies, great, then go from there. The other thing is too, if people have volunteered at other places, I mean, I've seen, even when I've gone to Naankuse, people are like, oh, I was thinking about this project, or have you been here? Have you been there? Once you're there, if you've gone there the first time and you can network, you find out different, oh no, God, don't go there. That was this. And some of the discussions can get quite heated. It's quite funny because some people really think certain projects they've gone to are great. And then you get into debates with other volunteers about ethical things and that. One of the huge questions I have, and I can only speak for more animal related programs because that's where I go.
Yeah.
Is there veterinary care for these animals? Nice thing about Naankuse, as I said, Micah, she's based at the sanctuary outside of Windhoek. She lives there. She's there 24/7. Lindsay is at Harness. They have constant vet care, those animals. If something needs to be done, those guys are on the ball and they're on it. And I've seen it. I've witnessed it myself. If it's an animal program, are the 5 freedoms of animal welfare being looked after for the animals? Ooh. Are those being dealt with? If somebody can't answer that, another bell and whistles. For people that may not be familiar, that means like freedom from thirst and hunger, freedom from discomfort, freedom to express natural behavior, freedom from distress, freedom from pain and injury and disease. Now there can be varying degrees how those things can be dealt with. Yes, unfortunately, if there is an animal that can't be released back into the wild, say, for example, a cheetah.
Yeah, because it's just so interesting. Like when you work with big cats, there is something totally different. How if it's possible to release that cat back in, because the cat is really like create a bond faster than other animals,
especially cheetahs.
Yeah,
and some of the cheetahs that have come into Naankuse have come in, either they've been hit by cars, so they've had leg injuries, so they can't go back into the wild. Brody, she's one of them. Lucky, who's been there for years, she had her leg caught in an inhumane gin trap. She had to have her leg amputated, so she couldn't go back into the wild. Some were, for whatever reason, confiscated from people as pets. Well, with cheetahs, bond to humans so quickly.
Yeah.
They can't go back into the wild. You're setting them almost up for a life to be killed, because if they see a human, hey, they'll walk up. That human doesn't necessarily know. They'll think there's something wrong with it and they'll get shot. So there's always that debate about, do you keep something in the wild? But Marlise and I believe in the same in this. In human wildlife conflict happens everywhere. It happens with us in Canada with bears. It happens differently with cheetahs in Namibia. If we as human beings are the reason for that conflict, and 99% of the time we are, then it's up to us to be responsible to provide that animal with the best life that it can have. It has to be kept in captivity. And with cats, the freedom to express natural behavior, for example, with the cheetahs. One of the activities that the volunteers do, it's cheetah enrichment. So you go into the cheetah enclosure, you're not going to get attacked. They're very chilled with people, but you set up a lure and it runs on a machine, and their natural behavior can be triggered by that because they can chase it. Or when if they go out for walks on the main sanctuary, they are collared because it's a huge piece of property. If they take off to run to go after a springbok or a warthog, they're allowed to go so they can express their natural behavior that way.
Love it.
You know, and the great thing about Naankuse is, you know, nobody wants to keep an animal in captivity. That costs a lot of money, especially when you're talking big cats. It's a lot of money to feed them. So what I love about them is anything that can be returned to the wild should be returned to the wild.
Yeah, it's just so interesting when you put there, because in what we believe, or what I believe, is we get to create a new way how we work with conservation. Because when we talk about when I share conservation with people that don't work in the field, they have a very close mind about what is conservation exactly, and we are developing to why conservation is as it is, and also like why the animals as hurt as we are developing, and we can also be the solution. And I really believe we all have a plan, what they call it, we get to take our part of the suffering, of the hurt, of the damage we're doing. No matter if you have the passion for it, of animals, nature, we all have a part to play, because nature is our life force, and the wild animals as a teacher is playing a big role to we can breathe, eat, and all that fun stuff, because all wild animals have a part to play for us to be on Earth as a human.
Absolutely. And the great thing Naankuse is making a lot of progress with these days is what's called their rapid release program.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the past, they didn't get a lot of cooperations from farmers. If farmers had a humane trap and they trapped a leopard or trapped a cheetah, you know, years and years ago, many farmers would just shoot them.
True.
Now, Naankuse is promoting their program with farmers throughout Namibia. And, you know, if a farmer traps a cheetah or a hyena or a leopard, they'll call Naankuse, and Naankuse's on it. You know, Micah will go out, people will go out, and the farmer will say, you know what, I've maybe lost some livestock. You know, I understand how a farmer feels. That's their livelihood. And
of course,
it's
down to monies.
Exactly. So, you know, they'll say, okay, are you willing to work with us? Can we collar this animal, re-release it on your property? We'll get satellite readings of where this animal has been. If you lose another sheep or cattle or goat, call us. Give us an approximate time. We'll be able to tell you where that animal was. Maybe it's not that animal that's the problem. Maybe it's a different one. Maybe this one is just young or just wandered into the wrong spot at the wrong time. It might not even be the problem animal. And sometimes then the farmer is like, oh, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
And Naankuse will also, exactly. And Naankuse will also say, you know what? We'll give you the locations of where this cat is. And now they almost take ownership of it.
Yeah.
And the advantage, if you have a cat that is not a livestock killer, it's kind of an advantage to have that animal around, because it will keep other ones out.
True. Yeah, because it's playing a role, like it's playing the part in the ecosystem.
Exactly. So, you know, then that farmer will say to other farmers, hey, if you see this cat and it looks like this and it's got a collar, hey, don't shoot it, like don't trap it. It's not a livestock killer. They have had instances where it is the problem.
Yeah, I believe this. I believe this is the same with the cheetah and also other wild animals. I believe, Dawn, you have more experience than me. So, example around the fox in England, in Kent, where I was one point live, was when a private person, do not want the fox in the backyard. The fox is playing a big role. There's taking all the mouse, and it's taking all the rats. So it's just like, do you want the rats and the mouse, or do you want a fox that's having a hole in your backyard?
Yeah.
Because they're playing playing something in the ecosystem to hold all disease away.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I even see it where I work, you know, in the 28 years of I worked, where areas that used to just all be bush have now all been cleared for townhome complexes, residential homes. You know, I even had a lady say to me one time, and it was quite ironic, and this is in Canada, and she was walking in a trail in amongst homes. And she looked a little agitated. And I'm like, well, what's wrong? And I was at work. And she goes, oh, you know, these animals keep coming down into the areas where we live. And it was quite interesting to hear that comment, because I was like, well, actually, no. We have gone into where they live.
Exactly. We are saying we have destroyed their home, and most animals don't have a home anymore.
And animals are far more accommodating and tolerant of us than we are of them. 100%.
Yeah, and that is, as I see it, that is also part of the conservation, as Maurice is doing a amazing job with. It's like really working conservation on and also wildlife in different ways, how we could look at it, instead of being like, we were like, this is this. She's really like looking out of the box and find new opportunities and connect with people that have, up to this point, closed minds. She's really meeting people where they are and creating a working relationship with opportunities.
Absolutely. And you know what? A lot of the time it starts with the kids. It starts with kids. You know, an adult, you're not necessarily going to change their mind.
It is a little more, it's a little bit next level of challenge to work with adult mind, because like kids is more like, okay, we're changing things here.
Yeah, kids are more open, you know. You know, kids will go home. And the unfortunate part, the reality is, in a lot of these countries that I've visited, is local people can't afford to go in to game parks. They can't afford it. So we, as North Americans or Europeans, we can afford to go into Etosha National Park or Kruger or Masai Mara.
Yeah.
But local people can't afford it. So how do you explain to someone, and that's so understandable, you know, how do you explain to someone that, hey, this animal is valuable to our economy and you have to keep it alive? And they're not reaping any benefit from it. That's a very difficult bill to sell to someone. You know, the great thing, for example, where I do safaris in Botswana, the company I use there, they'll run little contests with kids, like little essay contests in schools. And in the off season, they'll take school kids into the parks so they can see these animals.
Yeah.
You know, and the great thing is with Naankuse, you know, people are seeing that, hey, there is a value to this. You know, Naankuse employs quite a few sandbush. Conservation now, it's changed very much, and it doesn't matter where you are. It isn't just about trying to save an animal.
No. Conservation is a lot of
that
things
there's a benefit to everybody in order to do that.
It is our life. As I see, this is our life force. So if we don't care about it, we don't care about our own life if we don't pay attention to that.
No, absolutely. You know, we all have to survive here together, and we all, whether we're four-legged or two-legged, we all play our role. Yeah. We all play a role.
Love that. So what is one thing you would like the audience to go with from our talk right now, Dawn?
Just think about, one of the big things that I can say about volunteering is you're going to get out of it what you put into it. Mm-hmm. If you go to a project and you just want to make more Facebook friends, you're not going to get that much out of it. If you go to a project and are willing to get your hands dirty, are willing to be exposed to a new culture, you're going to get a lot out of it. The other thing I can say too, I mean, I'm 56. Generally, most of the volunteers are on gap years, so they're younger. But what I've even seen over my 8 visits to Naankuse is people are traveling different now. When they want to go somewhere, they want to feel like they're giving something back. And each year I've gone, I can see, and it's great, you're getting more and more people volunteering that are in their 50s, that are in their 60s.
Oh.
and don't be afraid to do it. Yes, the majority are younger people, without a doubt. That's just the way it is. They have gap years. When we're in our 40s, 50s, we have jobs. We have to work. So
we have a bigger responsibility.
We do. It's different, and I even say, when I see some of the younger ones there, I'm like, hey, do it when you can, because once you have responsibilities,
It's a little bit more.
It's
not impossible. Everything's possible. When you choose it, you can create it.
Exactly. So you know what? Take the leap of faith and do it. If you are going to go to an organization and I can only speak for Naankuse, don't be afraid to book direct with them. Book directly with them.
There's a good one.
Yeah, book directly with them, because they will answer all your questions. They know more about their product. I've heard from many people that have booked from outside organizations that have gone there, like, oh, I didn't know about Tambila, or I didn't know about Conon, or I didn't know about Nurez, or I didn't know about the clinic.
Yeah.
I would have stayed longer. So some of the companies that are selling the product in Europe and that, they don't know everything that they offer. So please don't be afraid to book direct with them. You're going to be looked after. Elaine and Dylan said it the other day. They'll pick you up at the airport. Making payment to them is really easy. You will get more of your questions answered booking directly, and they will give you all the information.
Because it is like you asking questions from the source. So
exactly,
before we're ending this interview, Dawn, it's just like it is for you out there. When Dawn, what Dawn is also sharing about is go to organizations, go to Naankuse foundations and book together with them, because when I've been out touring, I've never gone through an industry company and all that fun. So it's like I will go straight to the source and say, "Hi, can you please help me? Because I want to come down to you." All the organizations I've been down to at the 9, you can book straight with them. Some of them have now working in a partnership with companies, because it is a big task to have for some organizations. So go straight to them, ask them, so that you come the right place if you've been sent to a company, so the company is working a partnership with them and they have a good one. So connect with them and they will guide you step by step what is the next step in your process. So your last word, Dawn, before we get to end this interview, what will that be to the audience watching?
My last words would be, your money is very important. We all work hard for it. If you invest your time and energy and your volunteer money at Naankuse, for example, your money's going to a very good cause. They can show you what's been done, what they're putting their money towards to, very tangible. Yeah. The other thing is I can say is you're going to make some amazing friends. Your life is going to be enriched.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Amazing. So to you, dear audience, go to www.naankuse.com. And there you can find all the social media on them where you get to follow them. We will invite you to go straight there right now to click on the webpage, follow all the social media and sign up to newsletters so that you get updated information about the amazing work. And why not send them an email right now and ask them to be a volunteer. There's always a way. Choose it and you will find a way. So remember to subscribe to these YouTube channels, and we thank you from bottom of my heart for you to watch this amazing interview with Dawn, Patrick, and I, and we wish you the most amazing day, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Yes.
There you go.
What do you think?
It was good. It was good.
Was it good?
No, it was actually very